Hey everyone, welcome to Adventures in Everyday Cooking, where every day can be an adventure in your kitchen. My name is Heather, and today we're making apple cider whoopie pies. Now, it's not very often that my husband actually requests recipes, but the other day one came across his Facebook feed and he was like, I know I never asked for anything, but I'm asking for these. So of course I'm gonna make it for him. Now, this is a New York Times recipe, but as I read through the recipe, there are a few changes in the way that it is written that I would like to make. So I am going to leave a link to the original as well as my interpretation of this recipe in the info of this video. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Here's what you're going to need. For the cakes themselves, you're going to need 1 1/4 cups of apple cider reduced down to 1/4 of a cup, 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar, light brown sugar is fine too, 1 large eggs, 1/2 cup of apple butter. Then for the topping, you're gonna need 2 tablespoons of melted butter, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Now for the filling, you're going to need 6 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, also room temperature, 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is get your apple cider reduced. So I just added it to a saucepan and I put it on medium-high heat and reduced that right down to about 1/4 cup. And it indeed took about 16 to 18 minutes to do that. I did measure it out a couple times just to ensure that I wasn't reducing it too much. But if you accidentally reduce it too much, just add a little bit more water and you should be just fine. Once that's reduced, you're gonna wanna let it cool to room temperature because when we add it into the mixer, we don't want it to scramble the egg. You're also gonna wanna now go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Okay, let's start creaming together the butter mixture. Now in my stand mixer, I'm gonna put my 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, room temperature, along with my brown sugar. And as always, if you need this recipe and you didn't screen capture that at the very beginning, you can definitely find it on my website at adventuresineverydaycooking.com. All right, we're gonna cream this together for about 3 minutes. And while we do that, we're gonna go ahead and mix together our dry ingredients with a whisk. So this is gonna go and I'm gonna do that. So we're gonna multitask here. And I have the baking powder, the baking soda, and the salt, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and the ginger. All right, now we're just gonna let that go for about 2 minutes until it's creamed all together and light and fluffy. All right, about halfway through our time, we are going to go ahead and scrape down the bowl just so that we can ensure any of that butter or the brown sugar got stuck to the sides. We want it definitely down inside the bowl. And then we're gonna get it going again for the rest of the time until it's light and fluffy. All right, that is looking pretty light and fluffy. All right, now we're gonna add the egg, the apple cider vinegar, and the apple butter. If you were with me earlier this week, you saw that we made apple butter utilizing all of the fresh apples that are on sale right now. And that was for this recipe. So let's go ahead and get this started again and get those additions. And right away, it looks like I want to scrape my bowl. And the recipe actually did say that your mixture is going to look like it's split, and that's totally normal. And I am sure glad that they have that on the instructions because I would have thought right now that I just did something wrong because it's pretty split. I don't know if you can see that in there. It looks like a right mess. All right, we'll get it mixing for a little bit longer until just combined, it says. So let's hope it combines. Okay, yeah, it's coming together. Still looks rather curdled, so don't panic. That's normal, I guess. think that's as combined as it's gonna get right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off, and we're gonna add in the flour a little bit at a time and just mix until just combined. So I'm gonna put in a little bit and we'll mix it up. All right, I'll add a little bit more. All right, let's go ahead and stop it and scrape down our sides. And we'll get it going again and just get it until all of the dry is just mixed in. You don't want to do it too long because otherwise it'll get hard and gummy because we'll overwork the gluten. Okay, I'm gonna call that good, and let's get our trays. All right, now you need to line your tray with parchment or a silicone baking mat. It says to use 2 trays, but I don't know if they just didn't have a really large one or if we really need to use 2. So I have 2 prepared just in case. All right, I'm gonna scrape off my beaters here. All right, and then I will just give it one fold just to make sure I got everything from the bottom. It looks kind of like a cake batter. All right, I have the Pampered Chef scooper. This is a 2 tablespoon scoop. It does want you to use 2 tablespoons of scoop of mix. So I'm just gonna grab some, and my silicone baking mat has circles on it already, but I'm pretty sure that I just have to ignore those when I'm doing this because those are gonna puff up maybe a little bit more than that, but maybe I'll listen to them and I'll put it in the center of every other just so that I give it plenty of room. It says to space them out about 2.5 inches. So I think that's actually pretty accurate. Maybe I will need 2 trays after all. It says it makes 8 of them, 8 to 10. All right, there we go. And we're gonna get these into the preheated oven for 12 to 14 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these first ones in while I portion out the second ones. Good luck, you guys. I'll see you in 12 to 14. Okay, so I tried a little bit off of my finger just now, and it is very much like a spice cake. Of course, the FDA says don't try raw batter because of the eggs and the raw flour. You do you. But it tastes pretty good. I'm a little concerned that my husband is not gonna like it. He's not a super fan of nutmeg, and this is very nutmeggy and cinnamony and whatever, so we'll see. All right, and they indeed are going to make 10 plus 1 extra half a pie just in case something happens. I don't know. I guess I was a little too precise with my measurements, so there's about 2 tablespoons more than 2 tablespoons per half a cookie. So once those come out and these go in, I will move on to the next step. So I will be back in a few. All right, they are out of the oven. We are going to stir together our remaining cinnamon and our sugar so that we make a sugar cinnamon mix. And we are going to brush the tops of each of these guys with butter. And then somehow we're going to toss them in. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. That works. I'm just gonna sprinkle them. All right, and now we are gonna transfer them to a wire cooling rack to cool completely. Okay, the cake is all cooled, and so now let's get together our filling. So what we're gonna do is put our cream cheese and our butter into the bowl of our stand mixer. And we're gonna beat this until it's well combined and fluffy. All right, then we are gonna add our vanilla and our 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And we're gonna start it on low and get it mixing, and then increase it. And we may need to scrape down the outside of the bowl. Yeah, let's go ahead and scrape it down just because that powdered sugar is sticking to the sides. So we're just gonna beat this until it's well combined and smooth and I don't see any lumps. And I think we're there. Easy as that. Let's go ahead and scrape the beater off. And I'm gonna scrape the bottom of the bowl. And I'm gonna go ahead and get it into a piping bag. Now, you don't have to do this step, but I wanted them to be kind of uniform. So I'm gonna get my center of the whoopie pie right into a bag. And perfect. Now you'll notice I do not have a nozzle on this piping bag, and that's because my nozzle is actually in another piping bag. I prefer to do it this way because taking this nozzle out later will be easier. Yes, I know that means I use 2 different bags, but it also helps whenever I'm switching colors and I need the same tip and I don't have another one of those tips. So it's kind of like a practice that I've been doing for many years since my Wilton cake decorating classes. So I'm gonna push my icing all the way down, and now our icing is ready to go. All right, so let's assemble these. Well, let's go ahead and turn 10 of these right side up. And you know, they kind of look like a really fluffy ginger biscuit. So if you are a fan of gingerbread, you may really enjoy these just as much. My husband did come through and taste the extra one that I had, and he said they taste great, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Okay, so here we go. Since they're all practically the same size, I don't have to worry about matching them up. Thank you, Pampered Chef Scoop. And we're just going to fill these about 2 tablespoons of filling per cookie. So I'm just gonna have to eyeball it and hope that I do enough. All right, we'll call that good. That might be too much, but we'll see. Okay, I feel like we're gonna run out. That makes me a little sad because I don't feel like I've done 2 tablespoons per cookie. Oh, look at that, just enough. I feel like though a couple of these might be a little lacking, so maybe do a little bit more of the cream cheese middle. All right, once you're out of icing and it's a sad day, we are going to take the tops and we are going to smash them down right on the top. And there we have it, our apple cider whoopie pies. Look at that. Wow, look at that. But of course, we must know how they taste, if this effort has been worth it. So let's taste them. Okay. You know, that's good, but I almost feel like the cream cheese middle is a little too heavy. Don't get me wrong, this is good. The crunchy of the cookie cake. So the bottom that was on the tray itself is nice and crunchy like a ginger biscuit. And then the top is fluffy like a cake. And then the inside is very creamy, but it's pretty heavy because of all of that cream cheese. I feel as though if maybe it was cut with some heavy cream or whipped topping, see what I'm doing here? That would be a lighter, kind of more, I don't know, it just feels a little heavy. It's still very good and I'll still eat the whole thing. It's good regardless, but I do feel like that middle is a little too dense. I love cream cheese frosting, but I feel like it just could be a little lighter, you know, maybe not so cream cheese forward and maybe half and half. Does that make sense? It tastes delicious though. I mean, like that's the only thing that I would change about these. Is this something I would make again? Yes. It was super easy. It was way easier than the directions let on. When I first started reading the directions, I actually printed this out weeks ago and I was a little put off by how complicated it looked, but you saw it. It wasn't very complicated at all. And it tastes like a great fall treat. This is good. I'll share this one. And I feel like my husband is going to think these are wonderful. All right, well, I'm gonna get off here and go share these with my husband. But if you like that, please give it a like. It does make a difference. And if you're not a subscriber already, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and even turn on the bell reminders. It will always notify you when I have a new video available. I do videos several times a week and I always take your requests into consideration. So if you have any ideas for me and want to see something, maybe something viral on TikTok, I really like doing those, tag me or find me on a social or leave a comment here and I will do what I can. Otherwise, you guys, we will see you on the next adventure. Bye.